Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. My name is Norma Nieto, and I'll be facilitating our webinar, Unlock Customer Data with the Azure Data Platform today. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started, I'll do some brief introductions of our presenters. First up, we have Mike Snell, who's our VP of Solutions Delivery. He has over 25 years experience leading our teams to create software that clients love and has led our group for 18 years. Mike is a recognized thought leader and has led his team in the successful delivery of projects across nearly every industry using almost every technology you can think of. Our main presenter today is Derek Sedlmyer, our senior architect here at CEI. He's an experienced and versatile software engineer with over 15 years experience in software development. He has strong cloud and data expertise and has been working with cloud technologies for 8 years, and he is an Azure certified data architect. Last but not least, we have Sandy Marich, who's our VP of Strategic Alliances here at CEI. He is responsible for developing and initiating our strategic relationships and partnerships that deliver successful enterprise solutions for our clients. Just to give you an overview of what we'll be covering today, Mike will be talking about the challenges and value associated with data platforms, and Derek will take over and give us an introduction to the Azure Data Platform and talk about elements and considerations you should think about during implementation. Then Sandy will take over and share a case study with you and talk about how we can help and tell you a little bit about CEI. Okay, take it away, Mike.
Thanks, Norma. So before we talk about the some of the benefits of the customer data platform, we want to talk a little bit about the challenges that customers face that this customer data platform solves. So these were some great statistics that we got from marketing agency Wonderman. So 79% of U.S. consumers expect brands to show that they understand and care about me before consumers make a purchase, right? And so people want to know that they're being contacted and connected to. They're not just a part of some category or some segment. Instead, they're being reached out directly to, and they feel that they are that they're being met where they live, right? And so the second stat there, 56% of consumers polled say they're more loyal to brands that get me as a segment of one. So businesses that can reach out and show value directly to a consumer is important. And you'll see that through both our case study and through some of the things that we've created. Go ahead. So what I want to talk a little bit about is the value of building a robust customer data platform. So as mentioned before, you know, in the customer data platform, it's not all about just doing data analytics, and that's certainly a big part of it, but we want to make actions on those data analytics. And those analytics really does need to we need to bring together all the data across different data sources so that we can make good predictive decisions around how customers want to be met or worked with, right? And so we look at the things like their transaction history, you know, how they interact with us and how they buy things and what they're buying, right? And we can do that whether they're using their mobile devices, whether they're doing checkout at the point of sale, at the registers, how they interact with us through marketing campaigns and behavioral data, and whether that's Facebook or Twitter, or social media, things like that. When they call us, when they make phone calls in, we want to get a holistic view of the customer. And of course, product usage is big too, right? With IoT and the ability to understand how customers are engaging with their product. Are they seeing your ads? Are they working with your tools? Things like that, right? We want to collect all this data, and even data that's not data that we own. You know, it might be data that's more related to you know, seasonal or regional data around weather and information. You know, we want to be in a position to target that single customer and help them make their next best decision as they interact with us, right? So we want to build a customer data platform that leverages all of this data, puts AI, machine learning into the platform, and really drives a personal connection to each individual customer that we have. And so what you'll see here in a minute is how we can build this comprehensive, personal, customizable, and scalable connected data platform. Go ahead. So some of the benefits of doing so include both business benefits and, of course, technical benefits, right? So the business benefits to us as providers, to our customers, is helping us really sort of drive the better business outcomes across that customer journey. What we don't want is, customers who are trying to find us or trying to interact with us and then not being there. We want to know ahead of time, and oftentimes knowing ahead of time, we might find gaps in our product offerings, right? We might see that there's a high demand for X that we didn't anticipate, and as a result, we weren't ready, right? And so we want to find those gaps and be able to fill those gaps before they happen, and we can use some of the predictive analytics from our customer data to fill those gaps. And of course, we want to make sure that our marketing and sales teams, this isn't a one-time event where we build a customer data platform and we go out and figure out what customers want and we say we're done. Instead, this is an ever-evolving, ongoing activity, and we're going to learn new things, and consumers' tastes are going to evolve over time, and we want to make sure that our data platform efficiently interacts with and drives tailored experiences to customers across marketing, sales, and operations. And then on the technical side, of course, with Azure and the cloud and all the capabilities that we have with these analytical tools and big data lakes, we want to have a faster, more efficient data lake. We want to have the ability to easily build out what we call data products. So that means when we bring the data in, we clean it, we store it, we secure it, and then we do the analytics against it. We want to be able to create these curated data products that we can provide over and over again to the people in the business that are making these decisions around customers. And of course, we want it to be scalable, right? So if you think about the millions and millions of transactions that can happen in a large, from a large customer body, we want to be able to scale with that and continue to learn over time. And then be able to add additional data to it is of course key, and then leverage some of the business intelligence, AI, machine learning that's been built up for us within Azure to help drive those insights. All right, with that, go ahead, Norma. I'm going to turn it over to Derek to talk a little bit about how the Azure platform can help you build a better customer journey.
All right, thanks, Mike, for the great introduction. So in this part of the webinar, I'm going to walk you all through the design considerations and some of the implementation technologies behind building a customer data platform in Azure. Go ahead to the next slide. So really, the foundation of an Azure data platform is the data lake. And traditionally, it was the data warehouse that would be the data foundation for the entire enterprise. But data warehouses traditionally, they suffered from higher costs. They were highly structured data stores, so you had to do a lot of upfront curation, and they typically had rigid data structures. Where with the data lake, it's very flexible. You have much lower costs. You can ingest structured and unstructured data without doing any upfront curation, and it's able to handle the volume and velocity of data that's typical in today's enterprise. The data lake, it's going to ingest raw data from external sources. These external sources could be within your organization, they could be outside your organization. And from that raw data, it's going to build curated data products. And in those data products, they provide a business value across the organization. They typically have defined formats, a defined schema. They're governed, controlled, and versioned, and most importantly, they're curated at various stages depending upon the consumer within your organization. So the curation could be as simple as deduplication, or maybe doing some timestamp conversions, or even just aggregation. But then advanced curation uses those AI and machine learning tools to extract insights from your data and publish those as new data products within your organization for others to use. As far as data orchestration, these are your ETL and ELT processes to help clean and curate your data. So the first thing that you want to do is ingest your raw data, and that data could be come in with batches, or it could be streaming. And with the Azure Data Platform, you can pull in data from all kinds of data sources. So it could pull in some of the data stores within Azure, it could come from other clouds, or even could come from online services. And then you want to use your data orchestration tools to do that curating of data or the cleansing and stuff to it. So, and those things are data duplication, aggregation. You may even build out a semantic layer from your data. And the technologies you'll use for this within Azure are Data Factory and Data Flow, Databricks, and analysis services. And then the most important part is getting powerful insights from your data. So this is where you'll use Azure Machine Learning to extract those insights, and then use Power BI to help analyze and interpret the data through reports and dashboards to your end consumers within your organization. Okay, next. So some of the considerations and tools for a CDP, and it's really centered around the central data lake platform to pull in disparate feeds, but you have to make sure you have robust data ingestion into that data lake so that you can ingest data quickly so that your analysts are better enabled to predict customer habits and trends. So to start off with the data lake, that's low cost storage. It's in Azure Data Lake Storage or ADLS Gen 2. It's low cost, it's organized into various stages based on the level of curation of data. So it'll have your raw data and then maybe some intermediate layers of curation, and then maybe some gold standard curated products for the organization to use. So the first thing you have to consider is ingestion. So how is your organization going to ingest data into the data platform? And you may be pulling in sales data, so that could be from your point of sale systems like Square or Micros, or even from your e-commerce site. Maybe your digital marketing group has a set of click streams that they want to pull in, so to analyze how a user is interacting with your websites or mobile applications. And also with digital marketing, they may be sending out email campaigns, so you want to track, did your customers open the email, and did they ultimately make a purchase by what they saw in that email? And then you want to pull in some base level customer data from your customer relation management system. So that's Dynamics 365, that's Salesforce. And then the tools you want to use for data ingestion really revolve around Data Factory and Databricks. And we'll get into some more details around those a little bit later. And then most importantly is security. So, if we think about security, let's think about the most basic things. So encryption first. Azure provides out of the box encryption at rest and in transit. So your data, whether it's in a database or the data lake, it's encrypted at rest. So it's protected either using Azure keys or your own customer managed keys. The next thing is access control. So you'll want to be able to use things like role-based access control, some of the best practices around there to help secure your resources within Azure, but then also your data products at each stage. And then some things around, you want to use managed identities. You want to really limit the usernames and passwords that you have lying around. It's extra configuration. They're not as secure. Instead, you want to implement the zero trust model using managed identities within Azure. And obviously, you'll want to secure your network traffic with VNets and private endpoints. If you do need to use usernames and passwords or have to maintain other types of secrets, you'll want to use Azure Key Vault. And then for your databases and your data stores, you really want to use vulnerability scans and threat assessments that will constantly monitor your data stores and point out maybe some misconfigurations or maybe some data breach attempts. The next is automation. So that comes really in two forms. One is configuration and deployment of the data platform itself. So that revolves a lot around Azure DevOps, building release pipelines that execute ARM templates and PowerShell scripts, or maybe even Terraform scripts to help deploy and maintain consistent environments. And then you want to have automation from the ingestion and curation point of view for data. So you want to have event-driven event-driven data pipelines to help automate the ingestion and curation of raw data through those various levels of intermediate data products through gold standard data products for your organization. And then with monitoring, you want to do things like you want to monitor your service health, your resource health. You want to use monitoring to help assess potential threats. You want to use monitoring to do security alerts. So if it's detecting unusual logins or suspicious activity, you want to be notified proactively on those types of things. With data pipelines, you want to know that did one of my data pipelines fail, or maybe is it missing? Maybe a data pipeline is supposed to run every 24 hours, but maybe after 30 hours it still doesn't run. Maybe something you want to alert on. And the technologies you want to use for this is Azure Log Analytics and Azure Monitor. And then with analytics, this is extracting insights for your data products. So that's taking the raw data, curating it, extracting some insights with Azure Machine Learning. This may tell you what are your customers buying, when are they buying them, where are they buying them. And the technologies you want to use for this are obviously Azure Machine Learning, but then you'll want to use Azure Synapse to host data marts and data warehouses that feed into your reporting tools or some other focused applications. And then finally, reporting. This is what the end state of analytics. It provides those dashboards and reports for the stakeholders within your organization to gain some insight on your customers. You may have a customer dashboard, and typically this is built around Power BI to give you those dashboards and visualizations. Next slide, please. So within a data platform within Azure, there's many different services, and they each serve a different purpose. So first is your ingestion tools. So those are pulling in data from different data sources, whether they're structured, unstructured. They could be data warehouses. They could be in the cloud, either Azure, AWS, GCP. They can be on-premise file shares and databases, or they can be online services like Salesforce and Dynamics 365. And when you ingest that data, it's going to store it in the data lake. And this is technology like ADLS Gen 2 built on Azure storage accounts. And from there, they go into conceptual data lake zones: bronze, silver, and gold. Bronze is your raw data. Silver contains your various levels of curation. And then gold are your data products meant for end use reporting. Some of the products within silver are great for data scientists to go in, run experiments that don't necessarily have all the business rules built into them. And to do that process and curation of the data, you'll use technologies like Azure Databricks, Azure Machine Learning to help build and curate and extract insights from the raw data and build those into those curated data products. And then to the serve portion, you're really serving up analytics to a variety of different consumers. And this is your data marts and data warehouses. And data marts, you can use SQL databases, or you can use Synapse within, for your data warehouses. And this all feeds into reporting tools. So that's your dashboards and reports. That's Power BI. It could even feed into a specialized customer data platform software tools that help build out and extract customer segments, or they maintain your digital marketing campaigns. But then there could also be focused applications that are sending out real-time notifications on promotions or new products, or anything you want to be proactive in notifying your customers about. Next slide, please. So when starting to design your organization's data lake, it's important to decide early on how to organize the data lake. This primarily falls into a centralized data lake model or a distributed data lake model. So in the centralized data lake model, various business units from the organization feed their raw data to a centralized team. Those business units could be the team that manages the point of sale systems, or it could be the digital marketing team, or a mobile application team that's developing your mobile application. The centralized data management team then is responsible for curation of the raw data into data products for others in the organization to use. This team will maintain any backlog of feature requests, as well as the artifacts to build the data products. So that's the pipelines, ELT scripts. This may work for your organization. It works typically for smaller organizations, but can suffer from a few challenges in larger organizations. Serving the data from a centralized location can be challenging. The data can quickly become unorganized and difficult to secure. Additionally, there's some blurred ownership lines with the centralized model. The business units typically know the most about the data and how it's all related, but so knowledge transfer from the business unit teams to the data management team will increase development times that may not be advantageous for your organization. But in a distributed data lake model, each business unit is responsible for collecting and curating, maintaining, and securing the data products. The domain knowledge of that data is close to those small autonomous teams. And then once you build this distributed data lake mesh, or once you build this distributed data lake, a data mesh is formed. So business units can start relying on other data products from other business units to help further curate and enhance their own data products. Next slide. So one of the goals when building out your data lake is really to design an extensible data lake platform so that you can ingest and curate that data as fast as possible. You'll want to take your data lake and organize it into proper data lake zones. This can vary depending upon your organization and the type of data you have. Typically, they fall into conceptual data lake zones of bronze, silver, and gold. Bronze is your raw data. Silver represents the different curation stages of the data. That's typically where data scientists like to run experiments and maybe generate further insights using that data. It's cleaned up a little bit, but not fully curated with all the business roles. And then the gold zone has all your business roles that have been baked into the data, and that's typically to go into your enterprise data warehouses for reporting. The technology you want to use here is ADLS Gen 2. It's based on Azure Blob Storage, so it's low cost, it's infinitely scalable. And then when you're building up the data lake, you want to have organization alignment on responsibilities and ownerships. So that goes back to the whole centralized versus distributed data lake model. And like I mentioned, distributed typically makes the most sense in larger organizations. And then when you're curating data products, you want to make sure that they're easily discoverable. You want to have descriptive metadata around them. So typically that involves using data catalogs and using the common data model. And then you want to secure them through role-based access control for users within your organization. And then you want to define an SLA around those data products about how often they're updated, when they're updated. You want to be really cognizant of breaking changes because they can affect downstream consumers of those data products. Next slide. So when you do data ingestion into your data lake and when you do the curation of the data, you want a loosely coupled event-driven architecture. So raw data can be pushed into a blob storage account that will fire a blob event trigger. This trigger can start a pipeline to ingest or further cleanse the data. And this is beneficial because you're processing data as soon as it arrives. You get results much quicker. But sometimes event-based processing just isn't possible. So you may want to start pipelines on a schedule or use a tumbling window. And tumbling windows are especially effective for any data backfill scenarios you may have, like loading prior year sales data or going to fetch prior historical data. Typically, tumbling window triggers will help you out there. Pipelines should typically follow best practices of a single responsibility principle. A pipeline should be able to provide one aspect of processing, whether it's ingestion or cleansing. And what this typically means is developing a pipeline to handle one specific type of file or one specific table from the database. And then data ingestion should be able to handle a variety of data sources and be able to support multiple source types. Azure Data Factory is capable of reading data from all the Azure managed data services, as well as other clouds and online services. So Data Factory is really a key service for ingesting data into your data platform. Next slide. So another critical piece in developing your organization's data lake is to have a good set of analytic use cases that use the curated data products. For a customer data platform, this should be data related to a customer or segment of customers. This could be in the form of dashboards or reports showing statistics regarding customers like the number of visits, the last time they visited, the average spend they had when they visited, as well as statistics on some of the overall customer segments. So in the case of analytics, you want to use the data products that were built and curated from the raw data in order to build specialized data marts or data warehouses. You'll want to use a star schema in your data warehouse to help with efficient reporting. And these data warehouses or data marts could be in Azure SQL Database or Synapse Data Warehouse. And I mentioned Synapse Data Warehouse. It's really a rebranded SQL Data Warehouse. Azure's going through and rebranding some of their data warehouse into a technology called Synapse, which I'll touch on here in a little bit. And then to curate the data, you'll want to use data factory pipelines with mapping data flows. So the mapping data flows are visually designed data transformations in Azure Data Factory. So data engineers can develop graphical data transformation logic without writing code. And the data flows then, they run on scaled out Apache Spark clusters. And all the clusters are managed by Data Factory, so you're not managing any infrastructure. And the mapping data flows, they can use an ELT, extract, load, and transform process to build a data warehouse. So data is first loaded into staging tables, and then from the staging tables, it's transformed into a star schema for reporting. And Dataflow manages that process for you. And then this whole process can be triggered so the data warehouse is up to date as new raw data is arriving into the data lake. And then Power BI will be there providing dashboards and reports to serve data from the data warehouse. And the queries are much more efficient because you are using the star schema and you're using the high performance query capabilities that are in Synapse. So since we're on the subject of analytics and have talked about it, Synapse Data Warehouse and Data Factory, I thought I would take some time to talk about Azure Synapse Analytics, which is currently in public preview. So Synapse Analytics is a new service in Azure. It combines a number of services into a single service and user experience. So Synapse Analytics combines the capabilities from SQL Data Warehouse, Data Lake, Data Factory, Databricks, HD Insight, and Power BI, and adds a user experience to tie the services together. So Synapse provides a data lake for storing structured and unstructured data, and it also includes a data warehouse. Synapse provides a data integration using Data Factory technology, including mapping data flows so that you can ingest, cleanse, and run ELT processes. And then it provides interop of SQL and Spark on your data lake. So that gives you the ability to use all kinds of different languages to run analytics on your data. One of the nice new additions is SQL runtime in order to query data within the data warehouse, but also within files in the data lake using familiar SQL statements. So that the new features with SQL pools further enhances the separation of compute and storage. Compute can be allocated just in time to execute queries. Power BI is also deeply integrated within Analytics Studio. Studio can be used to build Power BI dashboards and reports. Analytics also includes management tools for maintaining your analytic workloads, and has security controls for both your code and your data. And it also has a single dashboard, so it can be used to monitor your resources, pipeline, and usage as well. Next slide. Like I mentioned previously, one of the most important considerations when building a data lake is security. Security must be considered in every operation performed. Azure natively supports encryption at rest and encryption in transit for both storage accounts and Azure SQL databases. For authentication, managed identities are preferred over usernames and passwords when connecting to services. If username and passwords need to be used as a last resort, then be sure to use Key Vault to store those passwords. Azure Data Factory has built-in support to read credentials from a key vault. Additionally, service principals can be used for service-to-service communication in order to avoid using user credentials when accessing services. For data access to your data products, you can use role-based access control that's built into Azure to grant access. You can grant access to groups or individual users. For protection of Azure SQL databases, advanced data protection should be enabled in order to run vulnerability scans and threat assessments. And then since it's all on Azure, you can use Azure policies and Azure Security Center to further add restrictions and governance on the environment and gain some visibility of your security posture. Next. Within a data platform, there are often a lot of moving pieces. There could be numerous data pipelines executing and other automated processes. It's helpful to have a proactive view into environment issues. To monitor the data platform, it's beneficial to use Azure Monitor and Azure Log Analytics. Diagnostic logs can be sent from Data Factory into a Log Analytics workspace, and then custom queries can be executed on a scheduled basis to look for something like missing pipeline executions. So if you have a pipeline that needs to run every hour and you notice it hasn't run for the past 90 minutes, then you may want to alert on that to let someone know to look into any issues on that. And then within Data Factory, you can configure alerts to alert if a pipeline fails to execute, and you may want to alert at a higher severity compared to some of the other alerts. And then for visibility of alerts and also to do incident resolution, you can take your alert rules within Azure Monitor and link them to your organization's IT service management system. This will provide alerting to the appropriate staff so that they can triage and effectively resolve any incidents in your platform. Next. A goal for any workload in Azure, including a data platform, is to have the environment set up and configuration be fully automated and repeatable across environments. This helps your security posture as well as business continuity. Secure configurations can be well documented. Secure configurations can be well documented through infrastructure as code, and business continuity improves as an environment can be built from scratch with the help of automated release pipelines with Azure DevOps. We really recommend using Azure DevOps to fully manage data platform releases. When you're using Data Factory, you can save its configuration to a repository within Azure DevOps, and then you can use release pipelines to configure environments in an automated and repeated fashion. It's also advantageous to use a library of custom ARM templates to help configure resources according to your organization's best practice, and also to build in some security controls. Next. Also, when designing your data lake, it's important to consider how it will be governed. Your organization may already have governance standards and a governed environment to begin development. Going back to the decision to have a distributed data lake versus centralized data lake, if you choose distributed data lake, it's important that the subscription aligns with the business units or the workloads. So within the data lake, you also want to have standards for organizing your resources into resource groups, and you'll want to use conventions for naming your resources. And Microsoft provides some good guidance around naming resources in a consistent manner. It's also beneficial to implement good DevOps practices, such as work item tracking, source control, and release pipelines. Those release pipelines help you consistently deploy your data lake resources to your dev, test, and production environments. So you want to really treat your data lake and your data platform just as you would any software application and maintain effective lifecycle environments. And then when providing access to your data products, you want to make sure you have the right security and scalable security around that. So it's typically beneficial to use Azure AD groups to control access to those data products. And you can help with group membership through self-service group management capabilities within Azure AD. So I hope this provided some good insight into some of the technical aspects and considerations for a customer data platform in Azure. So I'm going to turn this over to Sandy, and he's going to walk you through a case study for a data platform.
All right, Derek, thanks. Thanks, Norma. Thanks, Mike. And thank you about this topic. I'd like to talk a little bit about a use case and a client that we worked with, which was one of the largest regional supermarket chains. And what's kind of interesting is that this client has one of the highest customer loyalty rates and one of the most profitable within the industry. But with COVID, times are changing, right? And they want to be engaged with the individual that walks through that door at their grocery firm. So I spoke with the vice president of data, and the response that gave me was that their main focus is on basically three things. One is around customer data at an individual level, right? Two is around e-commerce. How do I tie that into e-commerce? And with the customer, how do I make it as personalized as possible? So the challenges around using the data to guide was to be able to use the data to guide marketing to individual clients, right? Just as we said. The second thing was to develop some type of framework that could take in all the feeds of that individual in an Azure enclosed cloud. So how do you do that? So they wanted to provide closed loop feedback of that client to the cloud, to their systems, and be able to do it in a real-time fashion. So as you walk or you drive to the grocery store of the supermarket chain and you're in the parking lot, they want to provide real-time feeds to you. And as you walk down the aisle, you're going to know where to go and when to go. So that's a little bit about the challenge. The solution was to build a data ingestion, data lake, and customer data platform that worked in the Azure environment that would accept, like I said, various data feeds about the customer to predict habits. How do I predict tendencies? And to be able to predict trends that at certain times they could proactively reach out to that client. The technology used, as Derek discussed, and also Mike and Norma, was around Azure Synapse to drive reports down to the individual level, also to utilize services such as Data Factory, Data Flow, Data Lakes, to aggregate this data to show it, all right, within Synapse. So my net response to you all from a client perspective is that the tools are there to drive to the customer level and to drive a customer data platform within your company. Next slide, please. So the results that we had was we worked in collaboration with a consulting firm, and we also worked with the large grocery firm that we now have, and we built a data platform that everyone in the enterprise, right, can leverage. So such as data scientists that want to build models, right? A reporting specialist within a business unit that wants to get down to the detail level, not just at the geography area, but also with that particular customer. Marketing and sales, how do I proactively reach out to that client that's buying a particular product, and how can I be able to impact from a byproduct perspective? So the robust platform is built for expansion, for data feeds, and also to continue, as Derek said, around security and governance. And as we would like to say, we can be able to take this customer data platform across the enterprise. Next page, please. So how do we get started? And where do we get started? How we get started is around an 8-week workshop that we can customize for you and your particular business or business unit. Let us bring it to you. It will combine, like I said before, data ingestion. We'll clean up the customer data. We'll create storage of where the data should be. Where will it exist? The security will be there around the customer data, and we'll be able to create at a customer level a proactive data analytics of that individual client. The 8-week workshop will include an assessment, like it says on the screen, of your current environment. Where are you today? The workshop will be proactive. and it will have the right tool sets so you can provide a solution in that workshop. We'll pilot it, we'll provide the tool sets, the people, and we'll show results with the pilot, and we'll show an ROI and provide a roadmap for the future. So that's a little bit about the 8-week workshop. Let's talk a little bit about us. We provided a description of the grocery firm use case in the workshop that we just talked about. And so let's provide a little bit about CEI. A little bit about CEI is that you know, we're in Pittsburgh. You probably know about the size of us. We're along the East Coast. We go out to Denver. And we also have nearshore opportunities and also offshore in India. But from a Microsoft perspective, we have the experience to be able to design, program, implement, and manage systems. And this is one of the things we did for this large grocery firm. We're a gold partner. We also have certifications in application development. We're known for doing application development, application management, and modernization. We've done over 2,500 projects. We're a leader in the DevOps field. We're a gold partner in that area. We're a gold partner around cloud platform, of course, around Azure. We're building cloud centers of excellence for clients today so that you can have this governance, data governance model in place. We understand data analytics and AI. We have a data scientist on board. We understand, of course, application integration and API services, and we're delivering that at a current client locally in Pittsburgh. We are a supplier of the year from a minority certified perspective in 2015 and 2019. And for some of you, we're up for diversity supplier of the year from a national perspective. So that's a little bit about us, and we're ready to help you. Next slide, please. So how are we going to help you? We can provide a 2 to 4 week assessment and workshop, and we can also provide a pilot roadmap. And my request to you is that you challenge us today, right? In the area of customer data platform, no matter what industry you're in, we believe we can deliver a session that'll meet your particular needs at your business unit or use case level. So as it says here, we can provide a 2 to 4 week assessment as is to be. We can create the POC based on your use case and utilize the Azure data and cognizant services to build your customer data platform. Our intent is to provide a long-term, collaborative, trusted relationship that you can build with this customer data platform and provide the right services, procedures in place so that you can build for the future. So I invite you, as it says on my email, please email me or phone, call me to discuss the next steps, and please challenge us in the area of customer data platform. So I'd like to give it back to Norma. It's all yours, Norma.
Thank you so much, Sandy. Well, you guys did such a great job that we don't have any questions today. So that's all the time we have. So big thank you to our presenters, Mike, Derek, and Sandy. And I'd also like to preview the rest of our summer series, which is coming up on July 30th with human-centered design focus, which will be very interesting and a little less technical. And then we go back August 13th to our Cloud Center of Excellence, which you've heard a lot about our cloud capabilities today. And then lastly, an emerging technology around focused webinar around robotic process automation. So we know there's a lot of interest around that. So we really appreciate everyone's time today, especially our presenters again, Mike Snell, Derek Sedlmyer, and Sandy. We hope you found the content valuable. And if you're ready to get started on the customer data platform, again, please reach out to Sandy or whoever your favorite CEI account executive is. Have a great afternoon, and thank you.